Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to Living and Thriving with Rustie. You're listening to Living and Thriving with Rustie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my blessed beloveds out there. I want to let you know that I love you and I think you're beautiful, and I'm so grateful for all of the beautiful people in my life. It's just amazing to be surrounded by so many people with so many experiences and inspirational stories and messages of healing mind, body, and soul, and that was the intent of this show. I woke up January 2nd out of a very, very peaceful sleep going, yep, I'm going to do a radio show, and it's just been such a rewarding experience, and I've been introduced to some really incredible people, and it's a great journey, and I'm so glad you're here to join us today. Today, on Humpity Hump Day, it's a little rainy again. We're doing that Eeyore, where's my tail at this point. Poor Chloe didn't want to get up this morning. She's like, Mama, I don't want to. But the good news is she has Friday and Monday off, so I said, get through today, get through tomorrow, and you get to sleep in for the next 4 days. That's pretty cool. So she was grateful and jumped out of bed and put on her warm clothes because we've had, 2 weeks of rain now?
Yeah, it's been off and on. It's not been, constant, mostly at night. Yeah. It's been drizzly. I feel like we're in England.
I know. My pen pal in Ireland, we still share pictures, and, we're about the same. But the good news is he did get a bike, so that was a good thing.
Yay.
And he's cruising around in the rain with wisps in Ireland, and that's fun. But today's show we're gonna talk about compassion, which I think we kind of need to look at again as a subject matter. And I invite anyone out there who is or is not sneaking us at work to give us a call and tell us stories about compassion or how you might be struggling with being compassionate. The number here is 347-205-9443. And just an update on my week. It's been pretty mellow. I like that. I'm busy as usual, but really, really working on that balance thing. And I'm on my third book. Woohoo! When I had a nice hot tubby the other night. Bubbles, jasmine bubbles. Love it. And watched a really great movie Friday night, Midnight in Paris. I thought it was just funny. Great movie. Really enjoying my time.
Good.
Really mellow, and really trying to take October as a mellow, relaxing month, because it sounds like November is going to be steadfast. And
well, you know what's really funny? It's usually the opposite for me.
Yeah.
And November is looking to be extremely busy.
Yeah.
October is looking to be extremely busy. So there's some of us that never know where the off button is. That would be me.
You're learning.
But it's good busy though. It's not.
Very productive.
It is productive. We've got a lot of things going on. We're having an open house at Journey to Wellness in Dover on November 17th. It's our annual harvest type health and wellness, where it's called Harvest Your Health. And we always make really yummy food, healthy alternatives that you can make during the holiday season. We always like to strive on that, as we are a health center. But it's always fun. You just come out and you can try free mini sessions and talk to the practitioners and learn a little bit more about holistic health and how it can be incorporated in your health plan.
Very cool. Well, my exciting news when I woke up this morning was I was nominated for the Yahoo Women Who Shine.
Right.
And in order to win a $10,000 grant so that I can keep doing what I do for all of you, I need votes. Votes.
So go on our Facebook and vote.
So, yep, if you don't mind, I'm very grateful for all the votes, and we're still waiting for it to populate in the Women Who Shine. So definitely be on the lookout. And Facebook, it's facebook.com/celiac rose, and that will definitely give more momentum to all of the speaking engagements and everything that I'm trying to put together. And I nominated Amy this morning as well. So, again, same process. Go on and vote. And
thank you very much.
You're welcome. So how has your week been aside from the open
I'm
house?
doing pretty good. I'm getting used to my schedule. This late start for school on Wednesdays has really put me in a loop. I don't know what the board was thinking, but anyway, it's every Wednesday my kid goes in at, she gets on the bus at 9:30 instead of 7, every Wednesday.
I can't imagine the community impact because not all
Well,
employers...
obviously the community impact was not a factor in the decision.
Right.
Because, I mean, what they're saying is that the teachers have more time to develop more programs for the kids. It's a workshop time thing, which I understand, but I didn't know why the half-day thing wasn't working. Or give them a full day a month. I don't know. They have to make it up or something, but it's got to be hard for people who work, a regular 9-to-5 job.
Right.
I mean,
That's
I'm lucky where I'm self-employed.
Right.
It still impacts me because I can't take that client in the morning.
Right.
And it's really thrown my week. Because I keep forgetting I'm not used to this. I'm used to a half day once a month. I'm not used to every Wednesday.
Right.
But
so maybe that's a great place to, talk about compassion.
Right.
We'll circle around and talk about compassion and how to see that compassionately.
Mm-hmm.
So what else is going on?
Well, just, the same old stuff.
How's the product line?
The product line is, I can't keep up with it. I'm going to probably have to hire somebody to help me make it because
you're doing very well.
I am. It's just finding, it's that's what my lesson is this year is time management. I have some, but I have too much on my plate. So trying to get my product line, which is a organic, made just by me for those who are sensitive to petrochemicals. I decided to make this line because my whole family suffers from that condition, and I want to take the guesswork out of you having to read every single label. You don't need to anymore. So that's what I'm working on. It's just me, myself, and I, though. So, I have just going out to the fairs, too. I'm booking fair events, and we're looking at what Rustie and I are looking at one, possibly the Red Hook Brewery. We'll let you know a little bit about that if we decide to participate. It's a health and wellness event that's going on down there in mid-October.
You said October 17th, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, so that'll be fun, getting out there, perusing, hanging out. And
yeah, maybe we can learn how to do this broadcasting on at location.
Right. All of these things. So today I really want to delve into compassion. I believe... we'll get into that. But compassion, by definition, my good old friend Webster, the books that we used to carry as kids with Webster on it, now you just type it into the computer and virtually all of a sudden 14 definitions come up, and some of them are accurate, whereas others will be inaccurate. But I follow Webster pretty by the book. All right, so... compassion is a feeling of deep sympathy and sorrow for another who is stricken by misfortune, accompanied by a strong desire to alleviate the suffering. Compassion is a tough subject for some, I think, because I think we are naturally compassionate. I think innately, even as children, we see people as people. Then we develop these skills to see people conditioned as black or white or tall or skinny or fat or zitty or curly-haired or straight-haired or all of these judgments, all of these critical negative words. And over time, it really makes an impact, I think. And we're seeing that impact with our current affairs. So for me, I personally feel that, and this has been a struggle for most of my life, but I'm a very compassionate person. I always have been. So even through my adversity in life, I've always had this innate ability to just love that person.
And that's probably why you turned out to be the way you are, because you didn't a lot of people, they internalize things that happen to them, and if they're not sure, I also see too in my work and in my life where children that aren't in a compassionate home, so to speak, they don't know how to be compassionate. Even though there is some, I believe there's some natural compassion in everyone, but I've seen where you would think, wouldn't you think that person would think that, but some just don't, and that can also be a chemical imbalance.
Okay. So over the years, there have been times where I questioned this gift. I now accept it as a gift, and I'm very grateful for it, and I understand it and embrace it and love it. But there have been times where I was used, taken advantage of. And here I'm looking at this person or people or situation going, I love you. I just love you. And there's this thing that I write in my book called the emotional bank. And it's where you deposit your love, your emotional goodness, and you withdraw from it. So I spent many years withdrawing from my emotional bank but not receiving anything but bounced checks.
Right.
So it took me a long time and struggle. Well, why can I not see people as jerks or bums or, all of these negative things and become this individual who is non-compassionate? And I don't think I'm built that way.
No.
But I've also had to understand that in my world view, because I don't see borders, I don't see anything other than beautiful people. Like when I'm up doing my speaking engagements, it fills my heart up with this amazing joy because I see all these beautiful people. And some cry and some are angry, and that's not relevant to me. I don't really see that. What I see are these beautiful people. And so this last week I was trying to write on compassion so that I could really get this message out. And a story came to my mind about a few years ago. I had some coworkers and we drove to a meeting in Hampton. And for those of you who don't know the Seacoast area, there are certain areas that are more clustery with vehicles at lunchtime than other areas. And this particular part of Hampton is very busy. Lunchtime in the summer. So you have your tourists for the beach and whatever. And one of the few times that I lost my temper, which I rarely ever do, somebody rear-ended me. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, I'm going to slap you back into your mama and tell her to try again. Boy, I was mad. Who do you think you are? You must have been on the cell phone. All of these judgments and criticisms just popping out of my mouth. And once I had this little, temper tantrum, which I'm not accustomed to having, but once I did, I sat staring at my steering wheel going, what the heck just happened? How did I fall so far out of my alignment with compassion? Because I really don't. The person could have had a heart attack. I have absolutely no idea what this person's story is. I haven't even gotten out of my car yet. I did get out of the car, and I did talk to the person, and it was much calmer. I was actually feeling ashamed of myself for having this reaction. And, yes, the person was on the cell phone, and they were distracted and driving, and so it was, wasn't anything dire like having a heart attack or babies on the way or, some excuse that we would justify as okay. And I looked at this person, and there was forgiveness, but I had to deal with the shame of having that reaction. So what was good about that situation is that it really challenged me to acknowledge my human self, acknowledge that peace, and to step outside of the situation. And then from then on, I really, really, really had to work hard in some circumstances to step out of the situation without being reactive. But I also had to accept that I'm human, and that knee-jerk reaction is very natural. So compassion, how do we all see and act in compassionate ways every moment of the day? Is that even a possibility?
I guess it would be easier for some than others, and that's kind of a pretty broad. What I've always tried, and again, we're all human, we all have our moments, but what I try to look is the old adage, if you know, how would you want to be treated if you were in that situation? Sometimes people are so quick to react that they don't think. Part of compassion is actually thinking about taking the time to breathe and to think about that situation and how you want to approach it. Because when you take that 1 second to think about it, or that question, how would you want to be treated in this situation, it makes you step back and analyze it a bit. And that's when compassion comes in. When you react, the knee-jerk reaction, and that comes up, which it does occasionally, more often with some others, and I can, but
which is why we're having the show.
Right, exactly. And the thing is the media. Me and Rustie will hog-tie you guys about TV and the negative. I watch some TV, but it's mostly educational. I don't listen to the news. It's the whole political arena. You either know who you're voting for or you're not, or if you're voting or you're not. You just know. You can do, there's so much negativity on so many aspects of life, and when you focus on that, you're missing those compassionate moments in life. You're missing that, today I had a child walk into my house to get on the bus. She had hatched a butterfly from a chrysalis, and it was hanging on to her because the wings weren't dry yet.
Aww.
And so we put him on our fairy house, which he liked quite nicely.
Yeah.
And we were all very concerned about this butterfly, getting it to school because there was a terrarium there. And she wanted to let it go out back at school. And so I went to the bus. They would talk about compassion, about a butterfly. So we talked to the bus driver, and she had a seat by herself, so the butterfly and the bus driver talked to the kids and don't try to touch the butterfly. But that was, to me, compassion isn't just for fellow human beings, it's for all beings, for our, furry friends and our, this beautiful butterfly that just came in the world this morning that hitched a ride on Indigo and came into my house, which, that was a moment that if I was working a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't have seen. You know what I mean? So the compassion is we were caring for this butterfly that it makes it through its life. So there's a lot to compassion.
And we have 1 hour to get through some of it. So definitely call in, give us your stories and your struggles with finding compassion, or being compassionate, or, your thoughts, because we enjoy that. The number here is 347-205-9443. Or sign up for a free BTR account and chat away, because I'm sitting here staring at the screen going, okay, I know it's rainy, but who's napping on me today? Good gravy. Today we're talking and discussing about, we're going to have a nice discussion, just random thoughts about compassion and how we can better teach that skill. I have some friends that... I have a variety of friends, and I'm very blessed. And, again, it's that gift of seeing everybody in their divinity, whether, I don't see people for their size or their shape or their color or their beliefs. I see people for people, and I think they're just beautiful. It's like this glowing thing. And it's hard for me to describe, but it's even harder for me not to understand how everybody can't see the way I see. That's even harder. And it's not the judgment scene or the rules, that piece. It's the, oh, my God, you're so beautiful. And somebody over the weekend, with all of the adventures that I have, had referred to that stupid bum who was lazy in reference to a homeless person living on the streets. And I just looked at them and I said, do you really know this person's story? Do you know why they're homeless? Do you know them? Where do you get this judgment and this criticism from? Is this a knee-jerk reaction, which we are so accustomed to having? Because every aspect of our lives, we're filled with this negative, judgmental, critical stuff. And it's not working for us, folks. I mean, look at the state of the world and the current affairs. This is not working.
Mm-mm.
You know, we invented a wheel, but I think it's got a flat. So let's look at people as people, and instead of judging them.
Oh, look at that person as your brother or,
Right.
you know, close relative,
Right.
and how would you feel? You don't know that person's story.
Right.
You know, you don't know that person may have been a very prestigious, you know, business person or, you know, and lost their job. You don't know
And
their
lost
story.
everything.
And lost everything. A lot of people don't know that Donald Trump was homeless once.
Yep. That is
And he, you know, he rose himself back up to, you know, what he calls power. But, you know, that's a materialistic. But what point I'm trying to make is everyone can be that homeless person. Anybody can be that person. Anybody can be that high society person. It's where you put your mindset. But compassion is very lacking in the world today. Everyone is, you know, me. And compassion is, you need to have compassion for yourself as well as for others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you don't love yourself, you're not capable of fully loving another person. But like you said, you see, and I'm the same way. I see good in people, and I've been treaded upon, and I've gotten angry in the past. Now I just, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to be what it's going to be, and this too shall pass is my mantra for that. So, you know, we have our ups and downs in our life, and it's how you react to them and what you do with it. And I react completely different than I would have 10 years ago to certain situations. And I think that we do need to learn more compassion. That's why we're having so much bullying in schools. Mm-hmm. The compassion is not there. They feel that instead of being nice to someone to make themselves feel better, they don't realize that can happen when you help somebody, that they have to put someone down to make themselves feel better.
Well, and I'm going to just pull you back a little bit. My personal belief is that compassion is there. I believe we all are compassionate beings innately.
Oh, yes. I
but
that.
We're not training
or conditioning
ourselves to be compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
We are training and conditioning ourselves to be judgmental, critical, critical.
Mm-hmm.
I think I lost my tongue today. We fill our lives with difference, which really doesn't exist. If you were to be a truly compassionate and spiritual being, there is no difference. That doesn't exist because these bodies are just, as Darwin said, in my mind, you know, we're a brain in a vat.
Mm-hmm.
These bodies are completely different organisms than are conscious. You know, we have to feed it and nourish it and rub it and hug it and, you know, but it's a different, our bodies are our pet, you know, if you think about it that way. Compassion is part of our soul, part of who we are on a divine level.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we go about unraveling this state of negativity? You know, how do we go, in my mind, and, you know, you're studying Buddhism as well, in we have an eightfold path, and we demonstrate and become compassionate and wise. It's part of the eightfold path. And I know in a lot of other religions, you know, compassion is a very huge aspect of the religion. How do we get more people to demonstrate compassion so that the next generation doesn't have the same issues that we've had for thousands and thousands of years?
Well,
that's my question. I know.
Well, I have a little challenge. I put out on Facebook that if you wanted to listen, that I had a little challenge regarding compassion, which is part of, you know, Buddhism training.
Yep.
But it would be anybody because what my challenge is, and this is what this challenge does. Not only does it have you go out and do random acts of kindness, which is compassion, okay? You learn. You see, when you do these things, you get to enjoy that feeling, and you actually open up because you see it in a different way instead of saying, oh, look, he's a lazy bum, he has no job.
Right.
And instead, why don't you don't have to give him money if you don't want to, if you think the person might, be an alcoholic or a drug addict or something. We don't know their story. Go buy them some food and give it to them. That's what I do.
Yep.
I'll see people out, begging, and instead of handing them $5, I'll go and get 2 breakfast sandwiches and 2 cups of coffee.
Right.
And I'll bring it over to them. And they're very grateful for that.
Yep.
But I know I'm doing something in kind for them. I don't know for sure if they'd take that money. I don't know what they're going to do. But I know that I'm helping them and nourishing them. And I just made that person feel good and myself feel good all at the same time. So my challenge for everyone out there is over the next week, and you can comment on Rustie's Facebook page.
It's facebook.com/celiac roads.
And Earth Energy on Facebook. You can, just put a little comment in there and see how it's going throughout the whole week till next week. And hopefully we'll have some comments to talk about. But I want you all to go out there and do 10 random acts of kindness, which is considered compassion. And let's see what you're doing, how you felt, what little miracles may have happened in that time frame, and let's hear what that little project will do for you.
And I'm going to up the ante on that because I am a Cheshire cat, and I can do that. And out of that 10 random acts of kindness, I want you to also consider the 10 times this week, today, tomorrow, of frustration that you get from someone else, and step back and acknowledge the frustration and look at that other person and try to figure out why that person challenges you so much. My pen pal in Switzerland and I, we have lengthy debates, and yesterday we had a really good one. I won't tell you the topic or anything, but he's like, you're going to get angry. No, I gave that up a long time ago. Yes, well, you're holding it in. He doesn't understand why I don't honor that emotion. But I am working through frustrations. I find myself, I do get frustrated, which is being human.
Yeah.
And it's not a right or wrong thing. Anger is not a right or wrong thing. But it's being able to step back from that situation and look at the reason why you're having these emotions, these strong emotions, and what's challenging you. This person might just be annoying, but why do you see that this person is annoying? And I have a lot of friends on Facebook that sneak us in during their lunch break, and sometimes they post some pretty frustrating remarks about their office environment. And I just look at